Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction and the final movie of the 2021 holiday special, It's a Wonderful Life. So, this is a movie that's quite old. God, what year did it come out? I want to say it was in the 50s. I should have looked this up. But it's in black and white, and it is considered by many to be an essential film. It is considered by many to be one of those movies that you just have to see. And I've never seen it. It's 2 hours long, which is surprising considering the time it came out. Usually when I think of older movies like that, I do not think of 2 hour long movies. And I don't know what it's about. All I know is it's supposedly a holiday movie, and that it's essential. Now, this would not be the first really older movie I've seen. It's not the first movie I've seen in black and white. Not by a long shot. It's my favorite movie of all time, which we'll be reviewing for next week's final part of the holiday special. Is actually in black and white and from the 50s. So we'll be talking about that next week. But in the meantime, we have this. It's a Wonderful Life. So, yeah. I don't know what to expect from this. I don't know who's in it. I don't know anything, pretty much, because, again, I've only barely just heard about it. When I was determining movies, though, to do for this holiday special, like, when I realized I would have to do 3 movies and then probably a review for the last week, for the special, basically I knew I wanted to do one of 2 holiday films to be the last movie in this special. And it was between this and Miracle on 34th Street. And I've never seen that either, obviously. I went with this because I feel like this one's considered more of an essential film, going with my theme for this year's special. So I just felt it was more fitting in that regard. So yeah. I am very interested to see what this is, though, especially since it is 2 hours. I haven't seen too many movies from this time. I've seen some, for sure, but not too many. So I don't know how the acting's going to be compared to what I have seen. Because, like, comparing it to 12 Angry Men, like, that movie is very uniquely handled. And I've seen clips from, like, other, like, older movies, and some of them can get a little choppy with the acting sometimes. I'm hoping that the acting is really good here, though. I'm gonna put faith in that. I don't know what else to expect. I don't know what this is about. Based on the title, it's really hard to say as well, because the title, It's a Wonderful Life, could mean anything. It's such a vague title, such a vague idea. Like, it's just a concept, basically. It doesn't necessarily fit in with any specific details. Because, again, it could mean anything. Hell, the title could be fucking sarcastic for all I know. It could be like a joke, like It's Not a Wonderful Life, and the title is like saying that because it's like, look on the bright side or something like that. I don't know. Or it could be completely serious, but then what does that mean? what do they mean by It's a Wonderful Life? Because that's subjective. Wonderful is a different qualifier or quantifier for each person walking this earth. One person may find something wonderful that another person finds completely mediocre and boring. So, I don't know. I just do not know. But I'm definitely, like I said, interested to get into this because it is what is considered an essential film. And so far, we've been kind of mixed. We have been kind of mixed with our first two in this holiday special. I was not as impressed by The Breakfast Club as I wanted to be, but I was very impressed with The Usual Suspects. So I'm hoping this one is good. I'm hoping this one's more on the level of The Usual Suspects than The Breakfast Club for me. And yeah. So like I said, though, this is the last movie reaction for the holiday special. The holiday special still does continue into next week. It on December 25th, on Christmas, I will be posting a review for the movie 12 Angry Men, which is considered by many to be essential and, again, my favorite movie of all time. So I will be posting that review next week, and that will end the holiday special for this year. So after that, we kind of just move on. And for those who don't celebrate Christmas, for those of you who celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Yule or anything else during this holiday season, or even don't really celebrate any specific holidays, I hope you still have a great time watching these reactions. I hope you have a great time just in general in your lives. And I hope you're ready for more awesome reactions to come on the channel, more awesome content in general, because that's not going to be stopping anytime soon. But yeah, like I said, very excited to continue this, and let's just get into this final movie reaction for the 2021 holiday special. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow a link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not. I don't know, like, what people would think of this topic in regards to this film. But I would not consider this a Christmas movie. Like, Christmas is only kind of like I wouldn't say a plot device, but it's just kind of there in the end. The movie's not about it at all. It could have ended any time of the year and would have been just as valid. I think the only reason Christmas was added specifically was for that, giving time of year and everything, in order to work alongside the generous message of the film and the overall ending of it. I think it was mostly just because it just carries that spirit with it, but it's not actually about Christmas at all. In fact, the Christmas season is literally like the very last bit of it. The rest of the movie, it's not about anything about that. So I don't know what the thoughts on that entire topic with this is. I know with like stuff like Die Hard or whatnot, it's like, oh yeah, that's very divisive. But for this, I don't know. But that being said, even though this wasn't really much of an actual Christmas or holiday movie at all, I can see why a lot of people say this is an essential film. This movie came out in 1946. And it was like Trying to do the math in my head. 75 years ago. This movie is 75 years old. It's weird to think that movies in general are that old at this point, but yeah, they are. um, it's it's insane. Like, the quality is still very much there. Like, you think about how movies are nowadays. Like, even the movies that don't have all the special effects, ignoring that kind of stuff, in terms of the acting, the direction, camera work, and everything. Obviously, movies back in those days, including this, are very, very different in how they're handled. Pacing and um, the writing, the dialogue, all of it's very different than current day film. Um, and yet, although there were some things in here that I very clearly did not understand, such as the entire like wish thing that he pressed and it like lit up, and I don't understand what that was about. But even with those things, they were very minor. This film feels timeless. It is so well shot, so well written, so well acted. It feels like a film that you could watch in 2021, on the cusp of 2022, and still not just follow along, but love. Like you saw in the reaction, I teared up at the end. It wasn't like heavy crying, but there were tears flowing. I got that into it. I cared. Because this movie makes sure you do care. It makes you learn about this community, the characters within it. It makes you see everything they're going through. And so by the end, when George has to go through that Christmas Carol inspired um, view into what life in that town would be without him, which I did look it up, and it actually was loosely inspired by A Christmas Carol. Um, it makes you cry seeing how different it is, but also seeing how important he has become. And to see how he has literally kept this community going and brought it together in the first place, to where the people there would be so different without him, and in a very much worse way. And yes, you could very much say that this movie is very optimistic. Um, like, this came out like in 46, like at the end of World War II and everything. So it's like people around this time knew of hard times, and I think that's the point. This movie was made to be kind of, in a way, unrealistically positive, unrealistically just optimistic, because people needed it. And looking at where America and the world has come currently, honestly, it's something we need again. We need this kind of positivity. It may not be realistic, but we watch superhero films where characters literally fly and throw hammers through space and shit. I think we can handle something just being a little unrealistically happy. um, but yeah, this film didn't even feel like it was 2 hours. It went by pretty quickly, because it's like You just get invested. As you see George go throughout his life, just living and living for other people, like you're thinking, I was thinking at least, like maybe they're going to tell a story about how he needs to put himself first sometimes, how always putting everyone else first can cause harm to yourself. And this is true. This is definitely something that, as I said in the reaction, would have been extremely ahead of its time, because it's something that a lot of people have been coming to realize more and more in recent years. That sometimes it's okay to just do things for yourself rather than for others. But this movie very much goes, again, in a very hyper-positive, hyper-selfless manner, fitting with just the themes of generosity and love and community that it fosters. And I think that's smart, because again, it's a feel-good film. It's meant to elicit that happiness. It's the point. Again, it may not be entirely realistic, but sometimes we just need something uplifting. We want to see these characters who are going through so much have happiness, especially with a villainous character like Mr. Potter hanging over their heads trying to ruin their town, basically. And this is fun. I found this little info, speaking of Mr. Potter. Apparently, the FBI, no joke, literally, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, issued a memo in 1947 bitching about this film because of how it portrayed the rich character as a bad guy. I am not joking. They even they even fucking said it was communistic to do so. Like, oh my god, that is fucking hilarious. I am not joking. Here, I'll read the actual thing. It says right here. On May 26, 1947, the Federal Bureau of Investigation issued a memo stating, with regard to the picture It's a Wonderful Life, redacted, stated in substance that the film represented rather obvious attempts to discredit bankers by casting Lionel Barrymore as a Scrooge type, so that he would be the most hated man in the picture. This, according to these sources, is a common trick used by communists. In addition, Redacted stated that in his opinion this picture deliberately maligned the upper class, attempting to show the people who had money were mean and despicable characters. This is fucking hilarious. The FBI in 1947 called this picture communistic because the rich guy was the bad guy. That's amazing. I think that is the funniest fucking thing, like, to come from this movie. And this movie was funny. There was a lot of good comedy in this film, but that is just really fucking funny. Obviously, like, this movie is current day seen as very, very essential. Even in 1990, according to this, it was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the U.S. Library of Congress and selected for preservation in their National Film Registry. So people did come to find this film as legitimately essential. But it's just funny as fuck to me that the FBI of all organizations called this communistic just because it maligned the upper class. That's amazing. But yeah, I also looked up some of the actors that were in this, and I don't really know them. To be fair, I don't really know a lot of actors from this time. I've seen like a couple things, other things from this time period, but the actors here, I don't know them. I guess I just haven't seen much of anything else they've done. But yeah, they all did a fantastic job, especially the main focused characters. They all really sold it well, and I was worried that the delivery would be a little corny because, let's be honest, some of dialogue and deliveries and stuff were pretty corny in some of those older movies. It wasn't here. There were a couple lines that were a little goofy, of course, and even some of the deliveries may have been a little on the edge of being corny. But as a whole, it felt mostly natural. I believed that these were people and how people would speak and act. Obviously, not in like today's world, but for that time, sure. It worked for me. It made sense for me. Um, and through all the ranges of emotion too. Like when they were happy, when they were sad, when they were angry, it all read as very authentic. The story itself, like I said, most of the movie is just going through George's life. From when he was a young kid, where he saved his brother from drowning in icy lake, to the modern day on Christmas Eve, where he's depressed and scared and anxious, running from possible arrest for a mistake. And it's wild that he was running and so scared that he was willing to possibly commit suicide. In fact, I wouldn't even say possibly. He was on that bridge. He was about to do it. But luckily, Clarence came in at the right time, and George's generous nature took over. And funny enough, in spite of all of this, he never had to worry. But because of his impact on this town, he brought everyone together in a way to where they came together in his hour of need and donated above and beyond what he needed. And it ends very happily with everything working out. I mean, Mr. Potter doesn't face any repercussions for his shittery, but the rich almost never do. In the end, though, he couldn't stop George. He tried, and he almost succeeded, but because of George just being such a great person, Potter couldn't stop him. And that, I think, is the biggest lesson, moral message, whatever you want to call it, of this film. Doing good things will come back to you. It's kind of the idea of what's the word? Karma. It's the idea of karma. You do good things will happen to you. You do bad things happen to you. This goes just solely with the good, but it's the idea that because George lived his life so selflessly to help others, and even gave up on his dreams, his goals, his honeymoon, everything for the sake of his friends, he was able to get the help he needed. They returned the favor. Every one of them. Even Violet, the girl who very much had just as much a crush on him as Mary, never held it against him that he chose her. And in the end, she came forward, said, "I'm not going anywhere after all," and gave her money to him. All the money that he had given her in the first place, that he didn't need to. Every time someone around him needed something, he would be there for them, even if it cost him something. And there are a lot of people who would say that, again, there is a lesson that you should also take care of yourself, and especially with him having a family, take care of them as well. And again, yes, but it's a movie, and it's supposed to be upliftingly positive, to where you're supposed to get the feel goods from how selfless he is. And most people would agree there's nothing wrong with being selfless. There's nothing wrong with helping others. In fact, you should help others. Very much so. I'm just saying that some people would also say you do need to have a balance with living for yourself as well. Which, I mean, I even agreed with. So, for sure. But either way, I think it's pretty clear where this stands for me. Like, I was worried going into this. I mentioned in the pre-thoughts. Would this be more like The Breakfast Club for me, where it definitely under-impressed? Or would it be like The Usual Suspects, which very much impressed? This was, without question, the best of these three movies. Without question, it was the most invested I was in any of these three films. And I'm very, very happy I saved it for last. I'm ecstatic that I saved it for last. I only did so because I felt like, oh, this is a holiday movie, right? So we should have it closest to the holiday it's about. But it's kind of not, for one, a holiday film, and for two, it's like it didn't really make a difference, I feel, outside of just the fact that I feel like ending off on this with only my favorite movie of all time as a review being after it in terms of this holiday special. I think that's the right thing to do. It just worked out so perfectly. We started this holiday special off with something that underwhelmed me, moved into something that very much surprised me in a positive way, and then something that just blew me away with how good it was. On every level, this film is exactly what it needs to be. For the time that it came out and for today. It's honestly, there's maybe a couple things that could be changed a little tiny bit or improved on a little bit, but it's almost perfect otherwise. I wouldn't count it as a completely 100% perfect film like I would with 12 Angry Men or The Green Mile, but it's very damn close. It's really close. Like, there's only a couple small things that either don't make much sense today or just could be maybe handled a little better. Stuff like that. But otherwise, yeah. Phenomenal movie. So, like I said, next week on Christmas Day, for those who celebrate it, we will be finishing off our 2021 holiday special with my review of my favorite movie of all time, one of the only two perfect films, in my opinion, like completely perfect, and like what I consider to be just not even just my favorite film, but probably, at least from what I've seen, the best film made. Next week, we get to my review of 12 Angry Men. And I want to stress the original 50s version, because there was a remake, and that was not as good. mostly just due to the actors just not being as good. It wasn't like terrible, but it just wasn't as good. But yeah, the original. So we will talk about that next week. But for the time being, I thank you all so much for tuning in. Tell me down in the comments below, what did you think of It's a Wonderful Life? Did you love it as much as I did? Do you think it's a little overrated? Let me know, whatever your thoughts are. And for now, once again, thank you so much for tuning in to this part of the holiday special. And again, for everyone who celebrates a different holiday other than Christmas, whether it be Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Yule, or anything else around the world, or even if you don't celebrate a specific holiday at this time of year, I hope you have a great season no matter what. And just know that it's I don't know how to word this. I'm terrible at this. I'm trying to be sentimental. You're valid no matter what you celebrate or even if you don't. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Never let anyone tell you you need to celebrate Christmas or anything specific. You're good. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.